Just 2 days left, and it's anyone's guess what's going down Tuesday night. The final national NBC News survey finds Trump and Harris deadlocked, 49 to 49%, and a bunch of other polls show the same kind of nail-biter. Both candidates are going all in, barnstorming the battleground states as they fight to the finish.
A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, justice, and compassion.
America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before.
This moment in our nation has to be about so much more than partisan politics.
Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here.
A nation determined to turn the page on hatred and division.
We're one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up.
And after Democrats called Trump supporters garbage, Nazi-loving Hitler fans whose women are weak and dumb, Kamala's closing with unity.
We see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies.
Together, we'll build a brighter future for our nation.
But Democrats just can't help themselves from insulting half the country. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says if you vote Republican, you're anti-American.
If you're voting for these Republicans in New York, you are voting for someone who supports Donald Trump, and you're anti-woman, you're anti-abortion, and basically you're anti-American because you have just trashed American values and what our country is all about over and over and over, and you will wear this on Election Day.
So, Janine, I guess maybe Kathy was sleeping for the last week where Democrats kept sticking their foot in their mouths. She just came out and said it. What is going on?
Well, they continue to despise us if we at all support Donald Trump. And I think it's amazing. She's trashed everyone who doesn't agree with her politically. To me, she's irrelevant, okay? I mean, she's the one who said that we were all imagining crime in New York. Remember when she ran? And it's too bad that Lee Zeldin didn't beat her. But I got to tell you, that ad where they say if you're, Kamala says, if you're about freedom, justice, and compassion, you're going to vote for her. Like compassion for who? For Americans who are the victims of crimes, because we've got open jails, open borders. They've opened our pocketbooks. Who do they have compassion for? Everybody but the working, tax-paying American. But let me go back a little bit. So I don't know anything about the polls. Right now, they say that Kamala's up 3 in one poll and Trump is up 10 in one poll in Iowa. You know, I'm not sure that any of these polls accurately reflect what's going on. I really think it's social media now. I think it's the social media that reflects what is going on and what people are thinking. So when you've got hundreds of millions of views of Donald Trump in McDonald's or tens of millions of him in a garbage truck, and then they then spill over into hundreds of thousands of comments, then what you've got are people who are more in tune with what's going on and not so much in tune with the polling. And by the way, they say that New York Times says that Democrats are more likely to pick up the phone when it comes to polling than Republicans. So anyway, relative to 2020, Trump is running much better than he did. And I think right now the test is, can you get people to go out and vote? Not who they're going to vote for, but whether they'll vote.
Harold Ford Jr., good to have you back around the table.
Great to be here,
How are you feeling 48 hours before Election Day?
Well, first off, it's good to be back. It is, for me, I remember this Sunday before the election, having been on the ballot 6 times. I lost one for the Senate in 06, and I won 5 others for Congress. It's a great night as candidates think about their close. 2, Judge, you had it right. I agree with half of what you said. This is now about the people who have voted. And you now have 76 million votes have been cast across the country as of about an hour and a half ago. That number will probably reach 80 million early voters. You compare it to 2016, 41% of the vote was early. You'll probably have a little more than that this time. So just based on the population of people who went to go vote. But you had 56 million in 2016. 2020 is not a great year to compare because of the pandemic. You had almost 100 million. So you had 2/3 of voters go out. If you're a Democrat, you like the fact that there are 1 million door knocks today in Pennsylvania. I think, Jesse, the race comes down to your home, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, your home, where you're from. And if whoever wins Pennsylvania, I think, will likely win. I've said data shows that since 1980, only one time have Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin not all gone in unison. That was in 1988 when Dukakis and H.W. Bush ran. Dukakis won Wisconsin. So as you look at those three states, they generally go, those Big Ten states, they usually go in unison. But I think this go around, Pennsylvania is so critical for both of these candidates. I know Vice President Harris was in Michigan today, and I think that President Trump is going to spend some time in Pennsylvania before this thing is decided. Finally, I feel good. I feel good because, number one, a lot of people are voting. I want that to be the case. Two, as someone who's for Harris, this close over the last several days, her unity argument, Judge, we can talk about it. You can be critical of it, and that's fine. Or others can be. You weren't necessarily critical. You just thought that maybe there's something else you should have closed on. But you look at President Trump, and it doesn't seem as tight a message as it once was. I thought he might have closed at the border. Frankly, if I were him and I was advising the campaign, I'd have been in Arizona and made clear, this is what I'm going to do. This is why I ran in 2016 and why I'm running again. He now seems a little bit all over the place. He's had some word salads and some criticisms and things that I thought were unnecessary. And she, whether you like it or not, her message, she is very, very tight here at the end. And when you're calm and tight at the end of a race, a closing, your advantage. And so I feel good tonight.
Okay. Well, you look good, Harold. Thank you. He referenced the Big Ten states. That's referencing the Big Ten Conference, Dana.
Thank you. That's sports,
Yes.
and it's college, and it's really confusing, and it's screwed everything up, and everybody's mad about it still as things shake out. Because teams that were supposed to be good, they're no longer good, and it's like it's a big problem.
You might know more about sports than
tune
Brett.
in to Newsroom tomorrow. I'll give you the full update. So I'm looking at this whole thing with a lot of humility because we don't know what's going to happen until Tuesday, and I'm happy to be patient and find out. I'm excited about our coverage, and we did some rehearsing yesterday for making the race calls, and it looks good. The staticness of the race, like the way that it's just been pretty even, especially for President Trump. There have been ups and downs on the Democratic side, especially a lot of downs on the Democratic side, and then a little bit of ups, but President Trump's been sort of steady all across. I think he's not in Arizona because I think they think Arizona is fine. I think they are wanting to be in Pennsylvania. One of the things about the new polls that are coming out, as Amy Walter of Cook Political Report, she said, this is just choose your own adventure. So at this point, my answer to everybody is, we'll see what happens. But I will say that for the Republicans, by every metric, this should be a landslide. 70% of the country disapproves of the current administration. The top issues heavily favor all of the Republicans on immigration, crime, and the economy. On top of that, Kamala Harris has made no real attempt to talk about a real economic plan with some specifics. And so I look at all of this and think it should be a landslide. However, there are other mitigating factors. We can talk about all of those. We have a whole show to do that. But I would also point to this. The gender gap, which I've been very interested in, it is tied. Right now in that Emerson College poll, Harris is up with women by 12 points, and Trump is up by men by the very same margin. The generic congressional ballot is exactly tied as well. 48 Democrat, 47 GOP. The vast majority of voters, 83% of them, decided a month ago how they were going to vote. There have been over 75 million people have already voted. So this thing is well underway. And I just feel I'm just very humble about trying to guess what's going to happen.
Are you looking at this with humility, Greg, or your typical cynical?
No,
bombast?
I already called Arizona. It's like there are 20 different sportscasters giving you 20 different scores of the same game. It's like 20 local meteorologists giving you the different temperature because they all have different thermometers. So these polls I mean nothing to me. I agree with Dana. The contrast between reality, the reality that you feel, and the experts is vast. I mean, that could mean we're wrong, but I don't know. To talk about Hochul, Hochul and Harris are doing nothing good for the American people post-election. If this were a marriage, instead of trying to save it, they're trying to take out the spouse. The problem is, what do you do after if it doesn't work out? You have 80 million people that you called Nazis or anti-American or misogynistic. Are you going to say, hey, no hard feelings? Let's get back to work? No, you're going to have 80 million pissed off people. This is the problem with Democrats, is that their way of winning an election is always based on dividing a country permanently. They don't factor in the hangover that follows the debauchery. And then you have the opportunity cost of their hypothetical fears. In this case, it's the threat to democracy. And they go after the threat to democracy because they have no solution to the real threats, which, as the judge points out, They don't have any solutions to your border, the threats on your border, the threats on the street, the threats to your kids in their locker rooms. The biggest threat to them is the threat to democracy because it does not exist. The real threats, and this is the point I want to finish on, Dana. We have two big threats, really. Threat to our economy, $35 trillion in debt, and let's say a threat to our power grid, whether it's terror or AI or some unforeseen circumstance. Energy and economy are the two most important things to keep a country alive, and there's only one person who can solve that, and that's Elon Musk. And hell, whose side is he on? I mean, you got to think about it. The guy who has the most insight and the most brilliance on the biggest problems facing humanity, the guy sending, rocket ships to Mars, is on Trump's side. You guys have Cardi B, a stripper who roofied men to rob them. Trump got Musk. This shouldn't be close, people.
All right. And despite what Walls says, Musk is not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Although you'd like to smack his ass.
That's right. More on that later in the show.
Yeah.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.